Hello everybody and welcome back to another Brawlmachine battle report. Today I am bringing Deneghra1 against Reed, who is bringing Kaya1. This battle report was super interesting, and towards the end it was kind of, every little bit mattered. So it was a super close game right until the very last turn, and I hope you guys enjoy it because it was a lot of fun playing this game, and yeah, I think it made for a pretty entertaining video. So without further ado, we're going to get into the lists. Hope you guys enjoy. So today I was bringing Deneghra1 in Scourge of the Broken Coast. Deneghra1's kind of just my favorite caster in the game overall. She has just such an amazing kit between Crippling Grasp, Parasite, and then the amount of venom she can just blast out. She has Ghost Walk, which is fantastic utility. Dark Seduction is huge when it comes up. And really the only spell in her kit that I don't cast very often is Black Talons, and even then I find occasional times that I want to use it. So I just find Deneghra1 is probably one of my favorite casters in the game, if not my favorite. To top it off, she has an absolutely amazing feat. She debuffs like nobody else in the game, and it's just really, really good. So that's why I brought her. And then I brought her in Scourge because I think she's really, really good with Bloodgorgers. So Bloodgorgers are one of my favorite units to take with Deneghra1. They have two initial attacks as well as Berserk with their solo there. So basically any debuffs that she's putting on to armor or defense is effectively double stacked or even triple stacked with these guys. So, if she's putting a -4 armor swing out with Crippling Grasp and her feet, then these guys are hitting at effective POW 15s twice, which is really, really good. So I just really like bringing Bloodgorgers with her. Of course, with the Bloodgorgers, you do have to have General Gerlak Slaughterborn. He gives them that extra hitting capabilities, and Berserk. And then, of course, he has fantastic personal output himself. So he's just a really, really good model. And with Bloodthirst, these guys actually threat pretty significantly. So I just really enjoy bringing these models. For Denny's battle group, I brought a Ripjaw and a Defiler. So I really like bringing Defilers with Denny. I know they're not the most popular pick in the world, but I basically find the Sludge Cannon is effectively another Venom Blast that's just slightly less accurate. So I really find that, if I can actually walk the Defiler up instead of having to run it and spam some Venoms through it, that's effectively 4 Venoms, and Venom spamming with Denny is one of my favorite things to do. So I really like Defilers with her, and if I could, I would have brought 2. The Ripjaw I brought over the Death Ripper because I had 1 extra point, but powerful attack and crit armor piercing is actually pretty good, so, when it comes up it matters, and I was hoping it would, at least get a chance to use it. But usually these things are kind of just arc nodes that get blasted off the table before they actually get to do anything because they're relatively squishy. I brought a Stalker because the Stalker is just a freaking amazing model. I wanted to be able to hand out Grievous Wounds, especially since I'm going against a Circle list here, and I knew he was going to be running a little Beast Heavy, so I'm really happy that I had access to Grievous Wounds from this guy and Gerlak Slaughterborn, because being able to actually cripple War Beasts is a pretty big deal, and the Stalker was going to be instrumental in that goal there. For my heavy, I decided to bring the Slayer. I kind of just brought him for the sake of having a heavy. He really was just kind of meant to threaten zones and basically tell Warpwolves that if they get in range, they're going to die, because under anything of Denny's, he will trivially murder pretty much anything he wants to. And yeah, that's kind of what he was supposed to do. For 10 points, you definitely can't complain with the Slayer. In my opinion, it's one of the best budget warjacks in the game. I also brought the Void Archon, so I really enjoy the Void Archon, even post-nerf. Dark Shroud just gives even more armor debuffing, allowing Denny to get up to a -7 swing if she really needs it. Entropic Force is just more anti-heal, more anti-tough. It's really, really helpful in this list, just to basically make sure when I damage things, because so many things in this list are not going to be killing on their own, they're going to be doing a lot of chip. So I really need to make sure when I damage things, they're not just healing back up. If I take out a Fury aspect, or a Spirit aspect rather, I definitely can't afford to have that be removed the next turn. So it's just the more anti-heal I can stack into the list, the better. On top of that, being able to just give himself Incorporeal makes him really annoying to deal with sometimes. And I just overall think he's still a fantastic model. Voidwalk, while not as good as it used to be, still definitely good. And yeah, the Void Archon overall is just still a really good model. And last but not least, I did bring the Satyxis Raider Captain. She's just kind of what filled the points, but she was a new model. I only recently got her, and I was excited to use her. I figured at worst she can sit on a flag with a power 12, range 12 hand cannon, and that's probably good enough. And at best, maybe she goes down and knocks down a Warpwolf, and that could be pretty huge for the overall game. So I was kind of like, well, for 3 points, you know, she'll be a flag camper that might be relevant, and yeah, that was worth it to me. So that's my list. It's relatively simple. Basically, Denny doing Denny things. She's going to debuff everything and make the Bloodgorgers, which usually are super pillow-fisted, hit really, really hard for a few turns, and that was kind of the entire objective here, and I think this list plays to its objective pretty well. I did play this, a variation of this list at least, pre-buffs to pretty much everything, and it was pretty good then, so I was really hoping that with the buffs it was basically just going to be better, and I was pretty satisfied with how the list played overall.
So I chose to bring Kaya for this match. She's got a really good ability in Pack Hunters to give +2 to melee attack rolls, Soothing Song for some Fury management. And then she just recently got Jumpstart, which is kind of nice if I'm facing a 4th slot of knockdown. Occultation can keep her or Heavy safe. And then Spirit Door is her main spell. She casts this to move her and her War Beasts around to protect them. Her feat is pretty simple. It just gives her extra reaving potential and gets her back up to Fury 6 on a turn, so she can cast her Spirit Door more. I then brought the Feral Warpwolf, which recently got buffed, and he hits a lot harder now. He's a lot cheaper, and with the new Primal change, he's a really nice Primal bot as well. Then I brought the Warpwolf Stalker. I just really like how hard he hits. He's fast. He can Warp Prowl to get stealth when he's in concealment, and he can cast Lightning Strike for sprint. Then brought the Riphorn as just a cheap beatstick heavy. Pretty straightforward. He's got aggressive for free charges, bulldoze, and he can give himself a retaliatory strike with his Animus. Then brought the Blackclad Wayfarer for some range increase. He uses Hunter's Mark to give them free charges and give them +2 movement. I then brought the Warwolf as just a cheap 2-point solo to camp the flag. And I brought Lord of the Feast. I had him in the list because he's a 5-point wreck option, and he gives my list some Grievous Wounds, which can be very key in certain matchups. Brought some Shifting Stones, which can give some more Fury management, some healing, and can teleport my models around, which is really nice. Then brought the Death Wolves, just a character unit that's good at killing infantry, harder to move when they have corpses, because they get Ancient Shroud, a form of Ancient Shroud when they have corpses on them.
Cryx Turn 1. So I actually lost the roll to go first, but he decided to pick Table Edge. So here I'm pretty much just trying to advance everything up. So I'm starting with my Arc Nodes, just getting them into half-decent positions to do work next turn. I'm not used to going first with Deneghra1, actually. That doesn't happen to me very often. So I was a little surprised and not really sure of how to play this out. I'm really used to being able to blast out some Venoms on the first turn. But as you saw, I just put my Stalker in a position. I wanted to kind of keep him behind the building at first. But then I realized that Lord of the Feast was going to be able to get to him, and I didn't want to risk him taking more damage than he needs to so early on. So instead I threw him into the forest where hopefully he would be safe for a little bit longer. I ran the Bloodgorgers up, realized I accidentally moved Gerlak Slaughterborn with the rest of them, put him back, and then just put him back pretty much where I had him before anyways. Void Archon sits over the building and just kind of threatens the zone. My entire intention here was just to threaten the zone with everything. That was the Satyxis Raider Captain there. I just threw up onto the flag. And then lastly, I'm just making sure Denny doesn't have anything she wants to do turn 1, and she doesn't, so I just run her up behind the objective, and that's my turn.
Circle, turn 1. So right here, I see he's moved up to contest the circle. And I'm just kind of deciding where to put everything. I want my Death Wolves to be able to threat his infantry, and same with my Stalker. But I also want to give them concealment, so that's why I position them in the by the forest over there. Right here, I'm just measuring out threat ranges from his Stalkers, because I don't want to let them get in on my caster early. Especially with Grievous Wounds, it can be pretty obnoxious. So I just moved Kaya up. I believe I cast Occultation on the Riphorn. Just going to move up the Death Wolves, spread them out, get close to the circle, and just being able to contest, threaten any models that come close. And keep them fully within the forest to give proc the Prowl and give them stealth. So I move up the Stalker, Warp Prowl again, just giving him stealth again, and same thing as the Death Wolves, just threatening the general area while staying out of current melee threats. So right here I'm just fiddling around with the measuring tape, trying to see where the Stalker ends up. Same thing, just want to keep the Riphorn out of the Stalker's threat range first turn, and just move up to be more relevant next turn. Move the Feral, just keeping him back and warping armor. I move up the Shifting Stones. I don't really care if some stuff get into them. They're just cheap 1-point unit, 3-point unit, so 1-point models each. Then I just move up the Warwolf over by the flag to cap it next turn. And I move the Blackclad over here instead because I decide Hunter Mark is going to be relevant there.
Turn 2. So my opponent pretty much did about what I expected him to do last turn. I figured I wasn't going to really be giving him anything, but I saw a pretty good spray line there with my Ripjaw running into position for Denny to just kind of blast out a few Venoms. I figured maybe I'll get lucky and remove 1 or 2 of his unit there, and, you know, in a perfect world scenario, get a little bit of chip onto his Warpwolf as well. So I think that's actually the first thing I do, is I kind of just move my Warjack up into position, and double check the template there and confirm that I can in fact hit all 3 of those. So the 2 guys in the unit and the Warpwolf, and yeah, pretty soon I'm going to start rolling dice on that. Oh, right, of course I need to wait till it's actually Denny's turn before I roll those dice. That makes sense. So then I move up the Defiler. I wasn't really planning on arcing through him, but I figured I might as well try and hit something with his just like natural spray. So I spray one of the Shifting Stones sitting behind the wall there, and pretty sure I hit and do a little bit of damage to it. I don't remember it being anything crazy. Like, I know I didn't kill it, but I was kind of like, oh, well, you know, I boosted the damage, might as well see what I can do. And a little bit of chip onto one of the stones, which doesn't really make a huge difference at this point in time, but it was something. So I think I'm measuring out with the Stalker, and I decide I'm just going to kind of keep him in the forest. I don't want to put him in threat of anything. His goal is kind of just to be scary this game, because he can do a lot of work, and my opponent knows that. So I knew he was out-threated by a lot of things, but basically he was there to say, you can't come into my threat. And he did his job pretty well. So next I move up. I believe I'm moving the unit here, and I just gave him a run charge, throw him into the zone, and I wanted to have them a little bit spread out so he couldn't have like one model just go through and cleave all of them, but I also wanted to make sure all of them were in the zone, so if for whatever reason I was able to clear the zone completely and he didn't contest it, I would score. It was basically my way of forcing him to keep at least something in the zone. And after I move the unit, I think I'm moving Denny. No, I'm not moving Denny yet. I moved the Satyxis Raider off the flag because I realized I'm going to keep Denny on the flag, and she takes a shot at that Shifting Stone as well. I believe she actually takes it off the table, which is, I guess, kind of nice. That's 1 point down, which was kind of, you know, there wasn't anything better for her to be doing this turn. And now she, of course, contests the entire zone. So now I think I'm rolling the Venom Blasts, and he uses a corpse to reduce the damage down to 1 on the first guy, and then If I remember correctly, I hit the Warpwolf. I don't think I do significant damage to it. And then I actually failed to crack armor on the last guy. So, or maybe I even missed him. I'm not 100% sure. So he still had his corpse. But I make another shot, and I believe... Oh, this was to the Warpwolf. I'm actually still rolling. Yeah, okay, so now I think I'm about to make another shot, and yeah, I take off the front guy. I think I do a tiny bit more chip damage to the Warpwolf. I know it's nothing insane, and I don't actually remember if I get the corpse off of the back guy or not. We'll have to see. No, I think I failed to crack armor against the guy with one corpse back there, or maybe... Actually, if I remember correctly, I cracked armor, but I only did 1 damage anyways, so he just kept the corpse. Which was a little unfortunate. I was kind of hoping to get both of them. And then I think that was it for Denny. So there I move up General Gerlak Slaughterborn to threaten the zone. And I don't believe there's much more left, so that's my turn.
Circle, turn 2. So right here, I see Jason moves up into the zone and just positioning aggressively. So I decided I gotta clear a lot of that zone. I don't want to deal with his infantry. Between Denny feet and her armor debuffs, they can really put a number on my heavies. So I'm just kind of deciding what to put in there, because my Stalker's got a good in, and with Spirit Door I can put him back safely. So I just have the Death Wolves go first, though. I want to see what they can do, and just they can clog up his line if I get some corpses. So Caleb's just going first. He's charging the Arc Node, hoping he can get some damage in. Doing Combo Strike. Unfortunately, I miss with him. So then I move on to Tala. And she's swinging on that one. Hits. With the charge, she pretty easily cracks armor here. Fortunately, Jason toughs. So she got her next initial in, hits it, and kills it. Overtakes, and then buys an attack with a corpse, which he hits and cracks. Or no, sorry, that one didn't crack. That one failed. Yeah, she buys another one, hits, and that one hit gets her, and Jason toughs again. So I was kind of disappointed with how Tala performed. I was hoping she would wipe a bit more of that unit out, so I end up having to commit my Stalker here. So I'm just measuring Kaya's control range, because I want her to activate after the Stalker's gone, because the Stalker is going to have to charge out of control range here. So he won't have all his Furies for attack, but with Warp Berserk, he should be able to clear up most of them. Right here, I just decided to go with Lord of the Feast first. He moves up, shoots his Raven, hits the Bloodgorger, and he gets to do his teleport thing and do a big Blood Reaper attack. So he kills the Bloodgorger pretty trivially here. And I just hard roll against the Stalker and the Arc Node. I end up hitting the Arc Node here. And I choose to use my one... no, sorry, I don't have any corpses here. So I do okay into him. Okay damage-wise, but... Actually, no, sorry, I do boost here because I got a corpse from the Bloodgorger. So I boost the damage on the Arc Node, and I believe I cripple the Cortex, which is really lucky. So here I've got the Stalker going in. You'll see me fiddle around with his movement because I was trying to get his charge facing. I end up deciding I have to go against the middle guy, so I just turn him back around there. Take a swing against him. I end up hitting it. And with like a PS 18, I believe, he just easily cracks. Jason toughs there though, so I just put my claw into the knockdown guy, auto hit, kill, and then I get a sword attack into the other knockdown one, kills him, and the last guy toughs. So right here I'm measuring my control range from Kaya, because I'm realizing that to get a Warbeast into the Arc node will make them go for her control range, which is really not that ideal. So I decided it's not really feasible to go for it. This is me just trying to figure it out still. Just to go with the easy move while I'm thinking and just get the Warwolf on the flag. I have the Riphorn move up because I decide that I need a contest scenario somehow, so I need to get one of my heavies in or Jason's just going to score up on me. The Riphorn, I think that was still a fine move, but I think I should have edged the zone a bit more. There wasn't any reason to put him up that far. So if I just edged the zone, I think that would have been better. Okay, right here I'm activating with Kaya. I'm just going to have her move up and shoot a Spirit Fang at Jason solo there. So I boost a hit here, because I'm only Fury 6. Oh no, sorry, right here I Spirit Door the Warpwolf Stalker before I buy the spell. Buy the spell, boost a hit. And here's me just checking cast stats. And I end up hitting. So I managed to roll okay on damage and take her off the board. She doesn't tough, and then I'm gonna feat here, because I decide that it's not really worth yo-yoing the beasts around, because I have to always contest the scenario, and either way I'm gonna have to peace trade somewhat. So I instead feat and just Spirit Door Kaya back and keep her safe. Right here, I'm just going to move with Blackclad Wayfarer. I'm trying to get him in a good range to get some decent hunter's marks. And have the Feral just move in a position to counterpunch anything that moves up. And Warping Armor. Then I'll send off the turn by teleporting up the Shifting Stones to hopefully block some charge lanes and just generally gunk stuff up.
Cryx Turn 3. So looking at the board state here, I realized that a lot of my stuff that I don't want to have tied up is tied up. Most notably, all three of my light warjacks. So my arc nodes are both kind of out of it right now. My Defiler, I believe, had his Cortex crippled, so he couldn't even get focus at the moment. And in general, I was kind of having a bit of an order activation problem here. I knew I wanted to defeat this turn, because I needed to be able to do a lot of work. So I started with the Ripjaw because I figured that was the easy one. And I was just going to try and reposition myself slightly. I wanted to make sure I was in aid of the Satyr and try to kill the guy that I was in melee with. So powerful attack, double boosting everything. He kills him pretty trivially. And that worked out pretty well. So now I have a bit of an order activation problem. I want Denny to be able to move forward so I get more models in my feet, but in order to move Denny forward, I need to move some things out of the way, because I start trying to move her, and then I realize that it's not really going to work out the way I want it to. So I spend a lot of time here trying to figure out exactly how to position models so that I'm not giving up the Slayer because I don't want to give him up to anything and not have a good trade back. But I also need to be able to get the Denny to basically be in front of the Slayer, but because of the Slayer and the objective, I can't actually move her there yet. So I kind of shimmied the Slayer a little bit to the side there. I do acknowledge that I'm technically in his threat, but then once I feat, I get out of his threat. So I'm not too worried about it. And then I move up just a little bit. I make sure I'm within 14 of all of his heavies, so my feet will affect them. And I pop my feet, and then I believe I go for the Crippling Grasp onto the Satyr, which I'm not 100% sure. No, I don't boost it, but I do land it. And then, or no, sorry, I missed it, and then I had to buy it again. Yes, I remember that now, actually. Yeah, I missed the first one, even under feet. I rolled really poorly, I'm pretty sure, which kind of screwed up my plan because I wanted then to launch a Venom into something, which I don't get to do, which is a little unfortunate because I wanted to get the Blackclad Wayfarer off the board. But I kind of accept that's just kind of how it went. So now I think I moved. Right, I had my my last guy, or my second last guy in the unit, the one towards the bottom of the screen. He just stood up, and I believe he moved. And then the other one is going on a bit of a berserk spree here, so he kills the one of Reed's units. I forget what they're called at this point in time. And then he smacks into a stone. He doesn't quite kill the stone, so I believe I leave it on like one box. So his little berserk spree ends there, but really he did what he needed to do. He got the one model out of the way, and he got himself out of the way. So now Gerlak has a charge line to the Satyr. So now I'm trying to decide. I think here I'm thinking about what I want to do with the Void Archon. I know I want to get rid of Lord of the Feast, and then I want the Void Archon to do more than that after he teleports. So I think I end up having the Void Archon fly over to Lord of the Feast into back arc, and I just smack him a couple times, or once I guess, kill him pretty trivially if I remember correctly. And after he dies, yeah, he does die, I teleport myself over to the Warpwolf, so I can smack into the Warpwolf and get Entropic Aura over in that part of the map. So I think I do an okay amount of damage to the Warpwolf. It's nothing crazy, but I am under Denny feet, so it's pretty good. And I believe I put Incorporeal up on myself afterwards, so I think, yeah, I'm spending the soul right now to boost either the hit or damage. No, that looks like I boosted the damage there. And yeah, like I said, I do some decent damage to it. Don't manage to cripple anything, but still relevant damage. And then I put Incorp on myself to force Kaya to deal with him. So, next, which I think I just did the Stalker. Yeah, I jumped the Stalker in between the Satyr and the Warpwolf. So he's sitting in the back arc of both of them, actually, and pretty much just applying grievous wounds in case the Void Archon does get taken out, as well as doing a little bit of chip damage because under Denny feet, he actually hits fairly hard into Warpwolves. So I believe I cripple the mind, or no, I cripple the body on the Warpwolf there, and I believe that's the Stalker. I think I referred to it as the Pharaoh earlier. But I cripple the body on the Warpwolf, and I do a little bit of chip into the Satyr. Unfortunately, nothing gets crippled though. So I think I'm just rolling out the dice here. Yeah, so that would have been probably the damage roll into the wolf, I think. And then, or maybe that was the Satyr, I'm not sure. But then I charged Gerlak Slaughterborn into the Satyr. So he's a Weapon Master, POW 13 on a charge under Denny feet. He's kind of expected to hit really hard here. And I'm pretty sure he does okay on the damage roll. I don't remember exactly. Oh, no, actually, he did really poorly. On 4 dice, he only got 10, which, I mean, it's not the worst thing ever, but it wasn't what I wanted. So once again, I failed to cripple anything on the Satyr here, which is really disappointing because crippling a system here would have been huge. His retaliatory strike, he does manage to hit, but then on the damage, I believe he doesn't manage to get any damage in. So thankfully, Gerlak lives to fight another day. Or maybe he did like a couple damage. I know Gerlak survived though. So I move this Defiler up here, and I just take a spray. I hit a stone and a Satyr, maybe 2 stones. I know it was, I remember I lined up the spray like absolutely perfectly to not have to hit any of my own stuff, and I was pretty happy about it. And once again, it's just a little bit more chip on the Satyr. I think I might finish off the stone that was on like 1 health, or maybe I just hit it with corrosion. I'm not 100% sure at this point in time. But I know I don't do anything hugely significant to the Satyr, and I'm pretty sure at least one of the stones survives this. So they're still relevant, and so is the Satyr, unfortunately. So here I believe I'm just rolling out the damage. And yeah, like I said, I don't think very much actually comes out of this.
Circle, turn 3. So I'm just rolling some corrosion here. Some go out and some of my models die, but overall pretty average. But yeah, it's mainly just shifting stones that end up dying from the corrosion rolls there. So both my heavies here are grievous. Thankfully the Riphorn wasn't crippled at all, and the Stalker only lost his body, so he should still be able to do work. So right here I'm just deciding if the Feral's in range of the Stalker, and I decide of the Slayer, and he is if I get Hunter's Mark, but there's too many things in the way, so I decide that's just not going to happen. So I instead go with the Stalker, and I'm going to make attacks into Jason's Stalker. Right here, I'm boosting to hit. I hit. And because I'm warping strength, I'm like PS 20, so I am like +7 here. So I just do a ton of damage after boosting with my crippled body still. And almost one-shotting it. I managed to cripple movement, so it just takes my claw initial to finish it off. Right here I made a bit of a mistake too. I could have got sprint for free because of the wild hunt theme onto the Slayer, and put him in a more of a safe position. And instead I just end up leaving him there. So I'm gonna do something a bit cute here. I put up the Blackclad, and I going to spray Jason solo and one of his last Bloodgorgers over there, and I'm hoping to possibly crank damage on Gerlak. I realize it's not very likely, but even if I could get like a crit knockdown or manage to take him out, I get the Riphorn to go into the arc node instead of just hitting the solo. I end up hitting him, but no crit, and I do good damage, but not enough to kill him. Then I roll against a Bloodgorger. I hit that one, and I crack his armor, but he ends up toughing, which is fine since he's knocked down and he's got to give up his combat action. Right here, I'm checking control range again, and I'm just going to have the Feral move up and take out an arc node. I really want to get as many arc nodes away from Denny as possible. Makes her presence a lot less scary, because then she has to move up within 10 of what she's arcing to reliably get any spells, which puts her in a lot of my threat ranges. So, because of, even underneath Denny feet, because of my pack hunters and primal, and I got in back arc, I managed to pretty easily hit this arc node, and I do pretty good damage. I believe I take this out in about 3 or 4 attacks. Right here I'm getting some Fury for Kaya. I forgot to give her all the Fury that she breathed in earlier. And I go to move to Charger. Since the Void Archon went incorporeal, she's the only one that can deal with it at the moment. Then I take that back real quick because I realize I want to Spirit Door the Feral before I do that. To keep him in control range and somewhat safe. So I boost to hit the charge roll here, and I'm not expecting a lot. I managed to hit it. I do a decent chunk out of it. But no, I didn't blow up the damage roll, so I decide it's going to be safer to keep Kaya on 2 so she doesn't get assassinated. So I just end her activation there. Right here, I'm just teleporting up the Shifting Stone. Just be irritating. And the Riphorn's just going to go and kill Gerlak and then put up his Animus. So yeah, I hit, and I do enough damage to kill.
Cryx, turn 4. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out what the game plan is for the rest of the game here. I know he still has a lot more bodies on the table, but thankfully my Void Archon is still alive up at the top there, and I still have a few things I can play around with. He hasn't been able to do pretty much any healing on any of his war beasts, so I do have a little bit of an advantage there in the fact that two of his beasts are pretty much right on the edge of death there, and only a bit of a nudge should be able to get them over it. So I think I'm measuring out if the Slayer can actually be relevant this turn, and unfortunately he doesn't have much he can do. He does charge into a stone, or I guess I just walked into the stone, but it doesn't really make a difference. It's a single shifting stone, so he has absolutely no problem just trivially removing it. And then I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with everything else. So I have this Bloodgorger here. I believe he's the last one alive, actually. He charges into the Satyr. And, he charges into the Blackclad Wayfinder. And then, is it Wayfinder or Wayfarer? I don't know, one of the two. He charges into it, and I believe he kills it on the first go, which is good. So he overtakes and berserks into the Satyr, which I'm actually just realizing now. I'm not sure if he should have actually had Berserk because General Gerlak Slaughterborn was dead. I'd have to double check that, but that might have been a slight rules error on my part. Either way, he hits the Satyr 2 more times and does a little bit of damage to it because Crippling Grasp is still up. So that was pretty decent. And unfortunately wasn't enough to kill it on his own though. So next, I'm figuring out where I want to angle off some sprays here. The Defiler there is still an arc node and hopefully going to be able to do a fair bit of work. So I line them up so I can hit the Satyr, the Warpwolf, and Kaya with these Venom sprays. He makes his own sprays first, and I don't believe does anything too crazy. I think I might have put a little bit of chip into the Satyr, and then onto the Warpwolf. I don't actually remember how well I rolled here, so we'll see. I think I do actually pretty decent on these Venom sprays, and yeah, he does take out the Warpwolf. With, I believe that was still his, not Denny's shot. So that was pretty good, and then into Kaya, I'm pretty sure I just missed, which was perfectly fine at that point because he'd already done plenty of work. So now I believe I'm figuring out what I want to do for order of activations. The Void Archon has a lot of options here. The main concern is he might have to eat a free strike from Kaya to do a lot of those options, but I think this decision point here is one of the deciding factors of the game, is what I decide to do with the Void Archon, because there was a few things I could have done that probably would have been hugely impactful. So my decision here is, do I fight Kaya, do I fight the Satyr, or do I try to engage the Warpwolf at the top? And I believe I end up deciding to stay in on Kaya and just smack her a couple times and get her to transfer the damage to her Warpwolves because her armor is lower. So if I'm hitting her, I'm going to actually do more damage than if I were to go into the Warpwolf directly. And I think because I had so much trouble killing the Satyr, that ended up being a bad idea. But we'll get to that a little more in a moment. So I think I'm actually activating Denny first, it looks like. Or maybe I'm still deliberating about it at this point. But I think, yeah, I am activating Denny here, and I'm slinging some spells into the Satyr through my Arc Node. And I think I decided I was going with Venom, which is... Right, I went with Venom because I wanted to be able to ignore the target in melee. And I end up leaving the Satyr on one box, but he is continuous corrosioned. And of course, I did abandon my flag a couple turns ago at this point now. So Reed is currently up 1 on scenario at this point in the game. So I really wanted to have removed that Satyr, but I decided that the Void Archon should attack Kaya instead, because he's contesting their flag over there. So he attacks Kaya, and trying to see how I do here. I'm pretty sure the first attack just completely misses, and then the second attack I end up doing, I think, 11 damage, which she transfers to the Warpwolf, which was not good for me. I was really hoping he was going to transfer to the Satyr instead.
Circle, turn 4. So right here I'm retrieving in all the Fury. Rolling for the Corrosion, and the Corrosion takes out the Riphorn, which has been unfortunate, but he lasted a lot longer than I thought. I thought he was going to die on Jason's turn, so it's good that he managed to contest this scenario, and instead of Jason scoring up 1, I ended up scoring 1 since Jason forgot to leave anything on his flag, which is pretty fortunate. So Void Archon's not incorporeal this turn, so I just have the dog walk on up, and because of the gang fighter, since Kaya's in range, he gets +2 attack and damage rolls, and that makes him hit pretty decently hard. So I hit, and I managed to crank damage pretty well. So I feel pretty comfortable with Kaya finishing him off now. And right here, I'm just thinking about what to do with the Feral, because the Feral would eat a free strike if he tried to charge past that Bloodgorger, and I don't think there's a great charge lane to get to the Arc node without the Bloodgorger being removed by Kaya, but Kaya has to deal with the Void Archon. So I ended up deciding the Feral is just going to have to kill the Bloodgorger and be content with that, and I'll just bring him back to Kaya afterwards. So I have the Feral move up Warp Armor because he doesn't need strength for this. And he hits and kills. He tosses, then I auto-hit the next one and kill him. Then I have Kaya go. Oh, sorry, before I have Kaya go, I use the rest of his Fury using his regeneration ability. And I managed to heal up a lot of the damage I transferred to him on Jason's turn, which is pretty lucky. Here I have Kaya going. And I'm just hard rolling it. I get an 8 to hit on the second one, and I boost damage, and I managed to take him off the board. And then I just Spirit Door the Feral back. And I just have him edging the zone behind the wall. Just put him in an irritating spot.
Cryx, turn 5. So at this point, I know he is currently up 1 on scenario. And my goal is basically to tie up scenario and force him into a position where I win on points, because we're in turn 5 now, so the game ends very, very soon. And all I need to do, basically, I determine that I need to put Denny on the flag. I need to have my Slayer standing in the position that stops his Warpwolf from getting within 4 inches of my flag, which is basically just right on the other side of the objective, because the only way he could have done it would have been in a straight line, but that means he has to occupy the same space as the Slayer. And then I need to run my Bloodgorger out of the way. So I run up my Defiler there to take a spray, because in order to make it so he can't just kill my Slayer, I actually have to put Crippling Grasp on the Warpwolf. So I put up the Defiler, I make my spray, because I'm also kind of thinking if I can destroy his objective, I can just win on scenario instead of winning by points. So I think I do something like 1 damage to his objective, and the damage to his other models is pretty negligible. So I don't even know if I think I rolled it here, but then later when it's Denny's turn, I don't even bother rolling the damage on Venom against anything except the objective, because only on a spike would it actually matter. So Denny is going to go next, and I'm just going to throw her on the flag here and throw out Crippling Grasp. And at this point, in my head, as long as this Crippling Grasp lands, there's absolutely no way I can possibly lose this game, because I had been discussing it, and we determined that he wouldn't be able to get into range of the flag. So as long as I throw Slayer in front of the flag, and then I basically just run the Bloodgorger towards the right side of the board from where I was standing, it was impossible for him to win. So I do that. I hit the Crippling Grasp, I run the Slayer, and then here is my monumental screw up. I just kind of run the Bloodgorger into the trench because I didn't really care about where I put him. I just assumed he would be out of range of everything. And he totally had the speed to move another 2 inches back, but he was technically in range.
Circle, turn 5. So, realizing it's turn 5 here, and the game's pretty close at this point, I either have to win on objective, which we're pretty tied on, or I have to win on kill points. So, seeing that there's not much play for objective here, I decide I have to kill Jason's last member of the Bloodgorger unit and his Arc Node. Afterwards, I realized there's a safer line of play where I had the Feral run up to the Slayer, then have Kaya Spirit Door past the Feral, and then Spirit Door the Feral to get within 4 of Jason's flag. But instead, I ended up going with this play. So I just have the Feral move up and kill the Arc Node pretty easily. He's just warping strength here because I don't need armor. Then I have Kaya move up, and she's going to shoot at that Spirit Fang. Boosting to hit since he's in cover from the trench. I hit, and then I boost damage to make sure I finish him. Jason rolled toughs, and he doesn't tough. And that's game.
Well, there you have it, guys. I ended up losing the game because I thought I already won and wasn't careful with my positioning on it. I guess that's a lesson learned in there somewhere. But it was a really good game. It came down to the final, little bit there. And like I said, had I moved that model an extra 2 inches, had I not been super hasty about how I decided to position at the end, because I was just trying to make my turn nice and quick, I totally would have won the game, and that's 100% on me. I shouldn't have made that mistake, but honestly, the game was still really good either way. There was a lot of back and forth. We both had like fairly disappointing feat turns, which was interesting. It made the game really like unique, I guess, in a sense, where neither of us actually got that much work done on our feat turn, which was interesting. But yeah, no, I think overall that was a pretty fun game, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you did, be sure to drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and until next time, have a great day. Peace.